Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, depending on where you are watching this LinkedIn Live from. Welcome to this week's Horizon X, where we're going to be talking about social media hacks to land your dream job. You are definitely going to get value out of this week's session. That's our promise to you. And please let us know from where you are watching. Say hi, tell us from where you're watching. Stay positive, good vibes only, but definitely tell us where you're watching from. And we're excited to have everybody engaging today. I am joined by my co-host this week, Damian Rhodes. Damian, welcome. It's great to see you. Thanks for joining me today. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Charles. 5 a.m. in the UK, and it's great to be here.
Outstanding. And how many espresso have you had this morning?
I've had two already, and I'm on my third, so it's all good.
Okay, very good. So, Damien, tell us a little bit about what you do and what inspired you to contribute to today's talk.
So my background, Charles, is I had 24 years as an executive recruiter and over 10 years as an executive coach, advising both leaders and people looking for transition. And I'm now focusing on being a executive recruiter and career coach. So do a lot of coaching senior people, many of whom are in transition or looking to bring their team up to a higher standard.
Outstanding. That's fantastic. And I think you have some great ideas that you're going to share with us today, correct?
Absolutely.
And you also lived in Hong Kong for a while. How many years did you live in Hong Kong?
Lived in Hong Kong for 12 years in total.
And when are you coming back?
I'll be coming back. I come back each year to see family and friends, so I'll definitely be over at some stage next year.
Outstanding. I look forward to that and also seeing your beautiful family as well. Yeah,
Fantastic,
fantastic.
thank you.
Great. So, everybody, thanks so much for joining us. I am just going to say hello to a few people here. We've got Alex in Singapore. Alex, welcome. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us today. And also, we have got a few other people. So, please tell us, for those who are watching, please tell us where you're watching from. We'd love to have you engage. And today, as we're discussing our content today, we're going to talk a lot about LinkedIn profiles and the power of your LinkedIn profile and the power of social media. And if you would like feedback on your LinkedIn profile live, right here on the live session, then enter feedback in the comments and we will pull up your LinkedIn profile and we will give you some feedback right now live. So that's the kind of value that you can take away. So, but as a start, tell us from where you're watching, and let's jump in here to our. Oh, we got another person joining in here. Yes, Leon. Welcome, Leon, from Hong Kong. It's great to have you join us, Leon. Thank you for being here, and looking forward to your participation. Fantastic. So, Damien, let's jump into our presentation here. And the first thing is LinkedIn just published some updated stats. They've been having various Talent Connect events across the region. So if you go to any of their social media posts, you're going to see this page which they've displayed. So I just grabbed it off one of their posts, and this platform just continues to be a powerhouse for people, professionals in the global workforce. So every minute globally on LinkedIn, 17,000 connections are formed, 30,000 messages are sent through in the email platform. 9,500 members apply for a job. So LinkedIn relates to people that engage with the platform as members, not users so much. And every minute, 1.8 million feed updates are viewed. And every minute, 90 people add a new role. And this doesn't even talk about the people who are being hired every minute, but it really is staggering. And we're at a particular point right now, and I don't know what you think about this, Damien. Maybe you could give me your view on this. We're at a particular point right now where if people do not have a LinkedIn profile, it actually works against them. What's your view on that? Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. It can very much work against them. And even if somebody isn't actually looking for work, even if somebody is in a role or running a company, they don't have some kind of public profile on LinkedIn, it can have a negative impact.
Yeah, so here's a statistic scrolling about across the bottom here. After becoming interested in you as a candidate, up to 87% of recruiters and hiring managers will check your LinkedIn profile. So that's, and if someone, so as someone who is in this space as a executive search consultant, you're recruiting CFOs and COOs when the opportunity presents itself, and when you're not consulting or being an executive coach. If you're looking at a CFO candidate, Damien, and you find out they don't have a LinkedIn profile, what's your view?
It wouldn't rule me out of working with them, but I certainly want to know why.
Okay, so that might be a question that you would ask them.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, well, let's jump right in here to the rest of our presentation. And let's pull it up here. Just one second. Okay, so our next slide, what we're going to talk about next is the importance of a LinkedIn profile picture. And LinkedIn's own data confirms that profiles with a professional picture receive far more attention. In fact, the amount of attention they get, here are the statistics. And these statistics are consistent. They're from LinkedIn. They're from other people that track LinkedIn data usage. This is a well-known statistic, although people may not know this, but for those that are in the know, this is a well-known statistic. So if you have a professional LinkedIn profile picture, you are 20 times more likely to have your profile viewed. If you don't have a picture, it's going to get your LinkedIn profile is going to get passed over. If you have a professional LinkedIn profile picture, you're 9 times more likely to receive a connection request, and you are 36 times more likely to receive a message. So having a profile picture, you don't need a picture on your resume. Those days are past. That's no longer the trend or in vogue. But you need a picture on your LinkedIn profile. It needs to be as professional as possible, headset shot. That picture helps to drive higher engagement to your profile. It establishes immediate trust and approachability with people that are interested in doing business with you or interested in hiring you. It makes you memorable and recognizable, and it completes your profile and signals professionalism. So there's also statistics around people that have a complete profile. They're more likely to get hired. They're more likely to get connection requests and engagement. And it also reinforces your personal brand, which is really, really important. So I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have a profile picture, and that profile picture needs to be professional. What do you have to contribute to that, Damien?
Charles, I think that's a very good summary there, but I would say the word professional is very important here. So I would be very reticent to suggest somebody has a photograph that doesn't look professional. So, for example, some people have a photograph of them in their 20s, but they're now in their 50s. And I think that immediately makes them less trustworthy. So, for example, I know one individual who was looking for work for over 7 months. He had an AI-generated photograph that made him look about 22. And he had over 30 years consulting experience. And after our first initial conversation, one of the pieces of advice I gave him was to have a very good professional LinkedIn profile picture. And he did that, and he got much more engagement afterwards.
Absolutely. And so, it's fine if your profile picture is a few years old and you look relatively the same as you did when the profile picture was taken. But if people took a picture 10 or 20 years ago and they look significantly different now, then that's not going to help them, right? And it erodes trust, you're saying.
Absolutely. And I think also to have a photograph where somebody looks professional and happy. So there's some photographs that look where somebody looks angry or upset or overly, and you do need to look professional. But I think if you look unhappy, that's not a generally good look, is it?
Agree. So it's got to be a bright, professional, happy, snappy profile pic. And
Absolutely, it's worth
ideally,
investing in a professional one.
yeah, and ideally, the person's image should be occupying about 60 to 65% of the picture area on the LinkedIn profile. So it shouldn't be too small, it shouldn't be too big, and it needs to be a proper shot.
Absolutely, no one wants a close up of my face, I don't think.
All right, we won't go there. All right, let's move on to our next concept here, and that is the importance of a LinkedIn headline. I want you to explain to people what is a LinkedIn headline while I pull this up to make it a little more visible. What's a LinkedIn headline, Damien?
So, LinkedIn headline is a short summary of what they want to be doing, who they are. So many people have a LinkedIn headline, which basically gives their last job title. I think a good LinkedIn headline should be talking about what you're doing or what you aspire to do. I was
Yeah,
advising, I was advising one person who was looking to change career midlife. I give a lot of advice to mid-career professionals, and this particular individual had on their LinkedIn headline what they used to do. They changed it to aspiring, the name of what they wanted to do, and they put self-funded. So they put on their LinkedIn they're self-funding themselves, studying something different, and they immediately got significantly more attention from recruiters. And in the end, actually did get a job. And one of the reasons given was they found the headline on LinkedIn.
so that attracted attention to that particular individual.
Absolutely.
Okay. And when we talk about the headline, we're talking about the headline or the byline, which is immediately below a person's name on their LinkedIn profile.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just in case people are confused about that. And the other thing is nowadays, less is more. So if people have too much information on their headline, it's a bit of a turnoff for, particularly for recruiters or hiring managers who are looking to engage with an individual. And I do see LinkedIn profiles where people have got 3 or 4 or 5 lines of accomplishments or awards that they've won and things like that. And it's better just to be a simple headline. You could maybe push it to two lines if you wanted to, if it was clear and if it worked together. But that's something that definitely people need to be watch out for, not having it being too busy. Would you agree with that, Damien?
Yes, I would agree with it. And I'm probably thinking about what changes I need to make to my own one as well now at the moment. But one thing I used to do, and there's some discussion of whether it's a good thing or not, I used to put things like ex Ernst and Young on my headline. I don't do it more. But some people do, and it's debatable as to whether that's a good thing or not.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So let's go on here to what else we've got here. Actually, we've got a couple, just before we go on to the next slide, we've got a couple more people here. Hasibel, welcome, Hasibel. Thanks for joining us today. And Peter says, great sharing. Thanks so much, Peter. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks for that encouraging feedback. So let's move on now, Damien, to our the next part of this particular slide, talking about the importance of a profile headline statement. So the next part of this slide is having what will a proper career statement or headline statement in your LinkedIn profile provide for people. So what you want to achieve is you want that headline to be a 5-second pitch that makes recruiters think, like you say, Damien, I need to talk to that person. Or as you say, Damien, it clearly states the role that they want or the key value they bring to solve a hiring manager's position. And the importance of having this headline, it helps people get found. So if people have a strong keyword-rich headline, it can make the profile up to 300% more discoverable in recruiter and client searches. And it helps people get seen. So if you have an optimized headline, it can create a 200% increase in profile views, turning searches into meaningful traffic for your LinkedIn profile, which hopefully would translate into opportunities for people, whether that's career opportunities or business opportunities. And also it helps people to get engaged. So profiles with compelling headlines receive significantly more connection requests and messages by clearly communicating value. So we just can't emphasize enough how important this is. This is something that people need to put a lot of thought and a lot of attention into that. Would you agree, Damien?
Yes, absolutely. It makes a
Okay.
huge difference. The first thing people look at after the profile photograph and the name.
Yeah, absolutely. 87% of recruiters will go after they've become interested in a candidate. 87% of recruiters and hiring managers or HR people will go to LinkedIn to check out that individual's LinkedIn profile. And all of these things that we're talking about create an enticing, receptive place for those individuals to go to find out more about a candidate. Outstanding. Okay, so that's the profile picture and the profile headline statement. Let's turn a little bit now to content creation. Only 1 to 3% of LinkedIn users regularly create content. So the reason we're talking about content creation today is because it is one of the ways you can become part of the 1%, and it is one of the ways to look at your LinkedIn profile is that it's a portfolio. And
Yes.
people who are thought leaders, so thought leader content actually generates 6 times more attention than regular content. So people that are really actively in their particular space, they're really creating, being a thought leader, they're going to get 6 times more attention and engagement out of thought leadership posts. But regardless, posting anything professional, an accomplishment, a win, a thank you for somebody, appreciation, thought leadership, even if not a lot of people are doing that. Not less than, it's about 1 to 3%. So the number goes back and forth. I often hear the number differently. A couple of years ago it was 3%, and then it looked like it dropped back down to 1%. So it's somewhere between 1 and 3%. Depending who you talk to, you're going to get a different answer. But the vast majority, the other 90%, are consumers who scroll, read, engage with content, but they do not post their own content.
Mm.
So this is a way that candidates can, or people who are looking for customers or looking for any kind of B2B opportunity or B2C opportunity through LinkedIn, this is a way that people can really engage with the LinkedIn audience, and it's all part of the personal and professional brand that people can portray through the platform. What would you want to add to that, Damien?
I think it's absolutely vital. I think that showing that content shows who you are and not just what you do. So, for example, video or LinkedIn Live can let people understand the real professional you and not just words on a page.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I have a headline about that. Thanks for that reminder there. Let me just see what I've got here on that headline. Yeah, here we are. LinkedIn's own data confirms that profiles with okay, so this is about profiles. I'm looking for the content data here. But yes, the data is significant around how much content, even if you post once per week, you are going to get more attention to your profile, and it's going to draw attention to you. Absolutely, that's key. Let's go on to the next part of the slide. Okay, here we are. I've actually got the statistics here. I knew they were somewhere. I thought they were in the captions, but they're here. Okay, so get found. So content creators get nearly 6 times more profile views. If you post regularly, at least once a week, professionals who post regularly are 10 times more likely to be contacted by recruiters. And if you post once per week, that can lead to as much as a 200 to 300% increase in your profile views, which is not surprising considering that only 1% of people are posting content, original native content. And when we talk about posting, we're not talking about, there's a certain rule. if you find an interesting article that's relative to your space and you want to share that on your LinkedIn profile, there's value in doing that. But if you only repost content, if you only repost articles, that doesn't count as creating content. Creating
No.
content is your own ideas, your own picture. For example, your company won an award and you want to celebrate that. You won an award, you want to celebrate that. Your colleague won an award and you want to celebrate that. For example, you post a picture of your colleague and you congratulate them in the text. That's an example of native content. Reposting is helpful, but it can't only be about reposting.
I would also say, in terms of reposting, if you do repost, add some comment or commentary as well, rather than simply repost without words.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to add value added comments, why you liked a particular post that you're reposting, as opposed to just reposting it. I totally agree with that. That's a very good point. So to be part of the 1%, we sit here, we watch the newspapers, we see all the Hollywood stars around the world, on beaches in Lake Como and on massive mega yachts, and they say, oh, they're part of the 1%. Well, you too can be part of the 1% by posting
Absolutely.
content on LinkedIn.
And I think a key theme at content creation, it's about culture fit as well. You get to know the individual, how they're going to fit in, how they're going to show up to work. And I think that makes a huge difference in terms of the right people contacting them.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to our next slide here, Damien, where we're going to talk about 8 things to avoid on social media to be more employable. And this is so in this particular case, we're not just talking only about LinkedIn, although it's LinkedIn is part of the picture here, but we're now moving outwards and talking about Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, other social media. So why don't you say a few words about this particular slide, because I know that you came up with this particular list and have a passion in this area, Damien, and have a lot of experience given your background as an executive search consultant, have a lot of experience seeing what people should and should not do.
Thanks, Charles. No, I appreciate that. I think in terms of all of these things, as you said, it's not just LinkedIn. So employers are going to see, if you don't protect your posts on X, for example, employers are going to see that. You could be connected to somebody who knows your employer on Facebook. It could be Instagram. It could be WeChat in China. So all across social media, we need to be careful what we are posting. And so posting without purpose. If something doesn't add value, thought, or reflect your professional interests, it could dilute your personal brand. And so there's nothing wrong with showing a holiday photo on Instagram, for example. But if it looks like you're drunk, then maybe be a little careful there. Complaining about previous employers or colleagues.
Actually, on that one, Damien, I'm gonna jump in, and this is you mentioned posting a picture with a drink, right? I would recommend that people attempt to adopt a rule that they never post a picture that has alcohol in it. I think that for some people, it's a stumbling point. And what we're seeing globally is a global decline in the consumption of alcohol, particularly with younger generations. So baby boomers are consuming more than Gen Z are, for example. And I think and there's been a lot of analysis on social media and how many pictures on social media, and we're talking about all social media, that include a drink. And there was, I can't remember the actual example at the time, but there was one particular post where the lady posted pictures on Instagram, and unbeknownst to her, and she was quite a big follower, but unbeknownst to her, I think out of something like 150, 156 posts, every single one had had a drink in her hand or in the background or on the table. And I think that is something to be mindful of. That's a professional boundary issue. Now, it's a little bit different if you are celebrating at a wedding or a birthday and you're having a couple of drinks. That's a little bit different. But in general, I think that's something for people to really scratch their head and think, would I want to do that? Or shall I just get that bottle of wine out of the way before we take that selfie?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? And as you say, if it's somebody, cheers at a wedding, it's different to being on the beach with a bottle of wine in your hand. And so I think that it's an interesting one there.
Yeah, and then you mentioned also about posting with intent. So a data report, and this is the banner scrolling along the bottom. Data report indicates that users clock an average of 51 minutes per month on LinkedIn, which may not seem like a lot, but the difference is with LinkedIn compared to other social media is most of the people going onto LinkedIn are going onto LinkedIn with intent. They're networking, they're finding a job, they're trying to learn something. They hear a name, Damian Rhodes, and they're like, oh, interesting. I thought Damian was based in Hong Kong. Where is he now? And then they go look up where Damian is and what Damian's up to. And this is something notable about LinkedIn. So on Facebook, Instagram, people are scrolling, looking at what their friends are up to, doom scrolling, words like that floating around these days. What's different about LinkedIn, even though it's only 51 minutes, people are logging in with intent. And the statistics, I think it's around 16% of LinkedIn users are logging into the platform every single day, which is still a lot. We're talking 250 million people out of, the 1.2 billion that LinkedIn has. Anyway, keep going on your list here.
So I think another obvious one is complaining about previous employers or colleagues. And some people won't do this on LinkedIn, but they might do it on X or they might do it on Facebook, for example. And I think that's an absolute no-no. I think having a confidential discussion with somebody you trust about concerns is very different from putting that out on a public platform. And I think it doesn't matter whether your posts are protected or just being shared with your friends on social media. These are public platforms that get out, and people do hear about them. And people don't want to hire someone negative. It simply isn't going to happen.
Yeah, my rule of thumb would be if you're not going to say something in a job interview, don't say it in the comments or in your social media.
Absolutely. It's interesting, number 3. So sharing controversial, polarizing opinions carelessly. I personally don't think you should never talk about politics or religion on social media necessarily, but be very careful how you do it. And I think there's a difference between somebody saying they took their family to the synagogue on the weekend. There's a big difference between that and somebody complaining about people of a particular religion. Or there's a difference between somebody saying they voted today compared to somebody saying they hate people of a particular political party. And so I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Charles.
Yeah, I think we need to I think this is a really great point, and there's a couple of things I would say about this. We're seeing a lot of polarization around the world. The U.S. is not the only place where you're seeing polarization. The U.S. is where you're seeing it displayed quite publicly in the media, but polarization is happening all over the planet. And I think my guidance for people would be to take a position of working alongside people. So if you do want to express an opinion, you could ask yourself, how could I weigh in on what this person has shared on social media, or how that would be, scratching my head, help me understand why you feel this way, because I don't actually feel that way. I feel differently, as opposed to coming right out, locking horns with an individual in the comments or posting something that will be really polarizing and will get the hair up on the back of people's necks in the comments on your post. So that's what I would say. The other thing is people need to be sensitive. You need to operate on social media, all social media, the same way you would operate in a professional office. And would you, in the pantry, make a comment that is a polarizing comment, or or by the water cooler, would you make a polarizing comment? If you make that comment on social media, the bottom line is, and I know there's a lot of legal issues around can employers not take into consideration what's on social media. But there is a social media background check audits that do take place, and companies will watch out for people who are making really polarizing comments. And that is a mirror for how they might talk around the water cooler, or how they might talk in the pantry, or on a Friday night when you're out having, end of the week decompression time, whether that's in a bar or a coffee, that kind of thing. So I think it's okay to share opinions, but you want to share them in a way you're all working alongside each other.
Yes, absolutely. There have been extreme examples of people not getting jobs. And the reason I was given specifically was something shared on social media. And personally, I've given that feedback to somebody. So one individual came to me, and it was some years ago, and I'm not sure who it was, but somebody twice had an offer rescinded and came to me for career advice. And I spent 5 minutes on social media and could see posts that individual had put out there publicly that would rule them out from getting employed.
Yep.
I think it's very interesting that people are very aware of number 3.
Yep. That's a great point. What about inconsistency between profiles?
Well, I think with regards to what I'm not saying that your LinkedIn should be the same as your Facebook or your Instagram. And as said earlier, you can have a photograph of yourself playing baseball on Instagram and a photograph of yourself giving a talk at, say, Fashion Function on LinkedIn. But I think what inconsistency is whereby something contradicts each other. So somebody, for example, talks about being passionate about diversity on LinkedIn. Then they have a comment proving the opposite somewhere else on social media. That can be an issue. Or, for example, if you have on your CV information that then contradicts what's on your LinkedIn or another social media, again, that's going to be an issue.
And I think one of the areas where people do want to be careful about having their profile mirror is on some of the facts. So you want to make sure that the facts on your resume marry up and tie up with the facts on your LinkedIn profile. So if you started a job in January of 2020, but then on your resume it says you started that job in June of 2020, that says a couple of things. So as a recruiter, what does that say to you?
It could show either that they're careless
Yes.
or dishonest.
Yes.
Possibly
Yes.
both.
Yeah. So it's important to make sure that those facts marry up. And I agree with you, Damien. Your LinkedIn is like a portfolio, and your resume, it is what it is, and you want to make sure that when it comes down to the facts that they marry up. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What about number 5? Overposting or chasing engagement. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I think here, if you post too frequently or try too hard to go viral, it could make you look unfocused. So I think it's good to have quantity, but there needs to be that quality there. So aiming for relevance. I think that some people will have posts so often, people might unfollow them. So I think it's getting a balance there. I hesitate including this, but I think that sometimes you can overpost.
And speaking of overposting, one thing for people to understand if they are going to post content and include hashtags is that the LinkedIn platform generally only scrolls 3 to 4 hashtags. And I say that with some authority, having talked to LinkedIn on a number of occasions and had them say to me, the platform will only scroll up to 4 hashtags. So when you see a post that has 10, 15, 20 hashtags at the bottom of it, there's a couple of things. One, it's going to look and appear spammy. And secondly, there's a risk that the algorithm will think that it is spammy because there's so many hashtags. Now, chances are the algorithm is probably just going to ignore anything after the fourth hashtag. But this is something for people to be mindful of. You don't need to list a lot of hashtags. That'd be an example of overposting, over hashtagging, and also you want to be careful about how many people you tag in the post. Don't go crazy and tag 10 people in a post. You might want to tag 3, 4, 5 people if you really want their opinion and you know that they're going to provide you with some feedback. I do know from people in the know that there's some relationship with the algorithm that if you consistently tag people that don't respond to those tags, it's going to hurt your credibility statistically.
Yes, I was going to say it's not only the amount of people you tag, but the right ones. So if you want to tag your colleagues in a particular post, if one of your colleagues never logs into LinkedIn, just don't tag that person in there. Maybe write their name, but don't put the @ sign beforehand, so they can maybe include it in the post by name. But it shouldn't be linked to their LinkedIn profile at all.
Yeah, agree with that. And we've got a great comment here from Dr. Shankar. Jaya, thanks for this feedback. He says the material you're presenting is very important and will benefit various aspects of life. In fact, such material focused on artificial intelligence is very necessary for all of us. So we have talked a lot about AI in the past, Jaya, and we'll continue to do that in the future. And we also have Jocelyn here from Nevada. Hi, Jocelyn. Thanks for joining us. Great to see you here. And by the way, Jaya is calling in and watching from Delhi. And also...
Oh, welcome, Jaya.
Yeah, welcome, Jaya. And just a quick shout out here to a couple of friends here. So my friend Richard Patterson is watching from Vancouver. Thanks, Richard, for joining us. And it was great to reconnect with you a few weeks ago. We went out and had lunch together, Richard's wife Shannon and I, and Richard had a great time reconnecting after not seeing each other since before the pandemic. Okay, Damien, let's get back to the last couple of points that you've got on this slide. And just a reminder to people that if you do want feedback on your LinkedIn profile, say comment feedback in the comments, and we will pull up your profile and give you some feedback live right now. But in the meantime, let's jump back into our presentation here. Damien, what's next?
So neglecting privacy settings. So, for example, if you use certain social media, you can decide whether it's public or shared just among your friends. So, for example, you might share a comment as a joke. A stranger may not understand it's a joke. And some people could see something in black and white and believe that's what something really means, when clearly people know them, might know otherwise. I think, without wishing to contradict number 5, being invisible is almost as damaging as oversharing, if not more so. So if you haven't posted or commented in a month, recruiters may assume you're disengaged. So even a simply monthly post or weekly comment keeps you visible and credible. So when I'm advising job seekers, I advise them to post something weekly and to comment, and particularly comment on people you want to influence. So if you want to work for a particular organisation, maybe follow the lead of that organisation and comment intelligently on their posts. So I think being invisible certainly doesn't help. And that does go back to not having a profile photo.
Yes.
And to engage like professionally. Sorry, Charles.
Yeah, and the other, being invisible, not communicating is a form of communication.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Carry on.
I had somebody once saying to me, Damien, I've commented on your post, and the comment was nice. And I was glad it said nice rather than not very nice. But sometimes engaging a little more can be helpful. So I think, a short comment about something is good. So rather than nice or agree or an emoji, add a line or two that shows some kind of thought or curiosity. Every comment on social media is like a mini advert for your judgment and your personality.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. And point number 8.
So I think for getting to engage like a professional, I think comments criticizing people rather than ideas are media no-no. So most organisations wouldn't hire someone who has unprofessional comments on there or criticising people of any particular or different backgrounds, for example. So I think that that's important. And it goes back to what I said earlier, they're still related. So engage like a professional. How would you behave in the workplace? And then translate that into how you engage with social media. There was some research a couple of years back, and I was quite surprised by this. But somebody's behaviour on social media is actually quite a strong link between that and their behaviour outside of social media. Although most people try to put their best foot forward on social media, it can be quite accurate in terms of how somebody comes across.
That doesn't surprise me actually, and that comes back to my earlier comment that the way if someone says makes a polarizing comment, one comment we'll see, but if you regularly on social media are making polarizing comments, then the risk is that people are going to be looking at that and saying, okay, is that person going to be making that comment in the pantry? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. The evidence says they will be.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go. And I think that you have a final comment here for people to consider. Let's just pull that one up here. I think actually you may have already spoken to this particular one here.
Absolutely. So it's often the first impression an employee gets long before you meet. So I do it personally in every single employer I know. Not necessarily the people, not necessarily the recruiters, but the final employer will always look at social media before hiring somebody. And very, very often before meeting them. So I'd say it's make it professional, make it positive, make it consistent, and it will quietly work on your behalf.
Great. That's great feedback. Thank you very much for that. Really, really, really helpful. And any comments about how to drive engagement from social media into LinkedIn? So how can people, it should can the content be the same on LinkedIn and on other social media? What do you think about that?
The answer is it depends. So there's certain
Okay.
things I would share on Facebook I wouldn't share on LinkedIn and vice versa. So for example, I'm restreaming this on X and on YouTube. I'm not sharing it on Facebook.
Yeah.
If, for example, I might have a photograph of my family going on holiday in Barcelona on Facebook, I might put that on LinkedIn if there's a comment connected to it that's relevant. But I think it doesn't need to be the same. It doesn't need to be a carbon copy. But I think they just cut your tone of voice and who you are can't be radically different. What are your thoughts on that, Charles?
Yeah, I think that people can get clever about how about LinkedIn, and I think that you can look at content that you put on LinkedIn and you can slim it down and simplify it, and put that up onto other social media such as Facebook or Instagram, so you can celebrate your achievements. And but in terms of content from Instagram and Facebook going on to LinkedIn, probably not. For the large part, most of one of the things we've definitely seen in LinkedIn in the last year has been it's drifted a lot more into the personal space. So you're seeing people share more personal things about their personal life, and I think that and you also see that people love that. They love seeing people being vulnerable. I shared about Sela, my daughter Sela, finishing her marathon, and I also share achievements of some of my kids Sebastian graduating from Redeemer with honors and things like that. So I think that type of sharing is great, but uh, uh, having everything that's on Facebook then going on to LinkedIn, no. That's, you want to appropriately share. You want to share on LinkedIn what you would share at work. If you go in and people say, "Hey,
Yes.
how was your month off, or your week off? How did the wedding go? How was your Thanksgiving, or how was your Christmas? How was your Lunar New Year?" Then you can share about that. You might share some pictures. Wow, my son got married. Here's some pictures of Sebastian and Olivia. And that's what you could share on LinkedIn. But and it comes to you talking about oversharing as well.
I think I would also caveat that with don't come up with tenuous connections. So, for example, somebody's sharing a photograph of them having an ice cream and saying, "I had an ice cream the other day, and it reminded me when they put sprinkles on how many CVs end up in my inbox each morning." And sometimes it can be amusing, and I know the person posting it joking. But some people genuinely post the most irrelevant comments connected to a personal event in their life and come up with a really twisted way of relating it to work. And I think just don't do that. Like, don't come across as boring, I think, is another thing on social media.
Yeah, great point. And Jaya here is also says, "Thank you here for presenting this talk. We look forward to continuing to give such presentations so we can all benefit and stay connected." That's great. Thank you for that encouraging feedback, Jaya. And then also Srinath from Bangalore. Great to see you, Srinath. Thanks so much for joining us today, and wonderful to see some colleagues from previous lives. I have very, very fond memories of the companies that I've worked in my career, and it's always wonderful to hear from those individuals and see them join these events. So if people have any particular questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments section. You can send us a comment. And the other thing is, if you want feedback on your profile, we'll give you live feedback right now. Just comment feedback, and we'll jump in and have a quick look at your profile and give you live feedback. Damien, I think you might have had a couple of other comments that you wanted to add in. I don't have those immediately on hand, but you mentioned just before we started that you had a couple of other comments there.
But there are a few questions people often ask me in terms of their LinkedIn profile. For example, one comment people often say to me is, should they have the green open to work banner on their profile? What are your thoughts on that, Charles?
Well, I know that statistically they should, actually. LinkedIn will tell you that if you have the green open to work banner, you are going to get significantly more attention from recruiters and hiring managers. That's just the statistics around it. But I don't know. What's your view on that?
My view on that is, if you're not working, if you're unemployed, or your employer knows you're looking for something new for whatever reason, there's nothing wrong with having it on there. There was a few months ago, there are a few people on social media saying, "Don't put the green banner on your profile, it makes you look desperate." But I'm thinking, if I'm selling a house, I might have a banner outside my house saying "for sale." Why would you not do that for your social media? The caveat again here is, if you're employed and you don't want your employees to know you're looking for work, clearly don't put the green banner on there. You can set it so that only the internal recruiters elsewhere can see it. But again, be a little careful with that. So you can subtly let recruiters know you're open for work, and that does increase your likelihood of getting contacted as well.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree with you on that. If people are not out of work, then don't put down you're open to work. That's clear. Yeah, and so I think that's a clear thing. So we have got a comment here from Abdullah, who's asked for feedback, Damien. So I've gone in and I've grabbed his profile here. So let's see if we are able to share his particular profile here, and then we can give him some feedback on the moment. So Abdullah, thanks for stepping out there. It takes courage to step out there and to have a look at, to be willing to put yourself out there. So Damien, in the spirit of charity, let's have a look at Abdullah's profile here and provide him with some feedback. The one thing I do like is the banner. I love the banner on the top. I think, Abdullah, what you could consider is the picture of you on the top is maybe get the lower the picture so it looks like that might be you sitting in the chair there. Maybe lower that down. Or the other option is if you have a picture of yourself presenting at a conference or a picture of you winning an award, anything like that, you could swap that out for the picture in the banner. What do you think of the profile picture, Damien?
Charles, could you expand the screen so I can see the
Oh,
profile?
you can't. Oh, yep. Let's do that. Let's do that. Just
Change
hold on one
settings,
second
please.
here. Yeah. There we go. We can do that. Okay. Can you see that, Damien?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So the profile picture is really charismatic. I love the suit that
Absolutely.
he's wearing. Absolutely charismatic. But technically, it doesn't fit in with what statistically the LinkedIn would say is ideal for attracting attention to the profile.
Absolutely. I would like to see. I was going to say it's a very good photograph, but I would want to see more of your face, Abdullah.
Yeah,
Like,
it's almost as if you could take the exact same picture and just zoom in to make it a head and shoulder shot.
absolutely.
Yeah, and it looks like it's a picture that's been professionally taken. So Abdullah, I would recommend you just zero in and make it a head and try around with it. See, make it a head and shoulder shot and see how that looks.
But what I would say, based on that picture alone, Abdullah is somebody I'd love to get to know and I'd love to speak to and engage with. So it is a great photograph from that point of view. I think it's one that, as you say, can zoom in for the LinkedIn profile picture, but to use this photograph in other posts, perhaps.
Yeah. And then in terms of the headline, I can see here that Abdullah has listed help you scale financially while keeping it safe digitally. I love that headline. And I think what you could do, Abdullah, is you could actually have the headline be the first, move it instead of having that part of your headline being last, have that part of your headline be first. So have it in front of financial security advisor, customer experience specialist, and just move that up. And do you think it's necessary to list the roles, Damien? Financial security advisor and customer service experience?
I don't think it does any harm, but as you say,
Okay.
put the help you scale financially at the beginning, if that's what you want to do. But I would say, in terms of listing roles, it should either be it should be a role you're open to working in. So if you used to, so for example, if Abdullah used to be a customer experience specialist, but isn't anymore, doesn't want to be, that should be removed from here. If it's something he's doing now and wants to continue doing, then keep it in there. What are your thoughts, Charles?
I agree 100%. The other thing, Abdullah, is the banner. You can actually have rotating banners in your profile. So it's a great step to have one banner here, and you can actually go in and you should be able to add in another 3 so that the banners rotate. So let's
What
just.
I'd also say about the banner as well is that the words underneath, which I can just about read digital entrepreneur, the colour and size is such I'm squinting to read it. So it might want to maybe increase the size of that font and maybe change the colour slightly.
Great feedback. Great feedback. And the other thing for everybody to keep in mind is that most of the people who are on LinkedIn are looking at LinkedIn on their mobile devices, smartphone, and they're not looking at, unlikely they're looking at the content through a laptop or an iPad, maybe an iPad, but more likely a digital phone, a mobile device. And that's going to make everything smaller. So that's something to bear in mind. So even if you just change that orange text to white text and made it slightly bigger, that would make a difference. Now let's just in the remaining minutes here, I'll just scroll down here a little bit. And so we've got an about section here on a journey of growth and transition with a strong background in customer service and sales marketing. I've spent years learning how to connect with people, solve problems, deliver real value. So this is good. This is a good start into having an about statement. You might want, this might be an area where someone could, well, he does have top skills down here, but this could be an area where somebody could identify, again, those aspiring roles or some of the accomplishments that they've had in their career. Damien, what do you think?
Yes, absolutely. I think that could be kept here too.
Okay.
And it's interesting, says I see myself as. Maybe if somebody else has given feedback, that could be shared here as well.
Okay. Great.
So, for example, I have been described as, or even a quotation from someone who's given a recommendation as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to follow Abdullah there. And let's just scroll down here. And so what about the experience here? So ideally, you'd have a short descriptor under each job title, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what you want to do, Abdullah. And just have a short kind of 2 to 3, maybe 4 sentence paragraph that describes what you did in the role and what your accomplishments were, and ideally even what your accomplishments were captured in a way that it describes the role. Yeah. So everybody, you need to give a big shout out to Abdullah for stepping out here and asking for feedback. So please give a big shout out to Abdullah in the comments here. Thank you, Abdullah, for jumping in there and being willing to get some feedback live on our LinkedIn Live. It definitely takes courage to do that. So good job doing that. Well done.
Absolutely. And also, Abdullah has a very strong connection base. He's got over 10,000 connections on LinkedIn, which means he's somebody who clearly gets out there, he networks, he knows people. So that's really positive as well, Abdullah.
Yeah, so Abdullah, actually, one of the things that you could think about is how you could harness those 10,000 followers and connections that you have on LinkedIn. And you can be really thinking about how you could create content, because I would encourage you to be thinking about your those 10,000 connections and what you're up to in your career, and think about creating a newsletter. Damien, what happened when you created a newsletter? How quickly and did you have people following that newsletter?
Very, very quickly. So I'm actually I'm an executive coach myself, and I have a coach, which is Charles. And it came up in conversation about a newsletter. And I set up a newsletter, and within a week I had over 1,000 followers. So that was extraordinary.
And how many followers do you have now on that newsletter?
Almost 1,500.
Yeah, yeah, very good, excellent. Okay, very, very quickly, let's have see if do we have a few minutes here? We can give Srinath a little bit of feedback. Have you got a few more minutes here, Damien? I know we're coming up to the top of the hour, but maybe we can take a couple of minutes. Are you up for that?
Absolutely, very happy to do so.
Okay, let me just make this happen here. Just a second. I just have to pull up Srinath's profile here. Okay. Okay, we're almost there. Just bear with me 1 minute. I've got a little bit of bandwidth issue happening, which is making it a little bit tricky and slower. So just bear with me. Okay, we got him here. All right, I know Srinath through Rockwell, and have very fond memories of working in Rockwell, and particularly being in India. I think during my time in Rockwell and Juniper, I visited up to 12 cities in Bangalore. So Srinath, thanks for stepping out, and uh, great profile picture. It'd be a little bit better if you could get rid of the little white spots on either side of the profile picture. That's a little bit distracting. You could probably do that with a little bit of cutting and pasting and photoshopping. But other than that, that's quite a good profile picture. Would you agree with that, Damien? Can you see it, Damien? Do you want me to make it a little bit larger? Let me make it
Would you
larger
mind
for
making
you.
it
Yeah.
larger, Charles?
There you go. There you go. Yeah, so this on the edges, the left and right side of that profile picture, there is some white spot, and that could actually probably get taken care of with a little bit of photoshopping, because otherwise I think the picture looks pretty good.
I think Srinath's profile looks good immediately. I like the banner. I would say change the word enabling to a brighter colour so that stands out more.
That's great. Yep, good feedback there.
But I love the headline, Transforming Manufacturing with Automation, Robotics and Industry, X.0 Technology. So immediately it's about what Srinath does rather than the name of a job title. So I really like that.
Yep, very, very good. And again, with 4,500 followers, Srinath, you could be thinking about also starting a newsletter if that's something that you were interested in and wanted to start publishing some thought leadership. You could try something. You could try something around even a newsletter once a month with some ideas around that. The about section here, this is quite good. I think I just quickly glancing over that. Also, I have been to Srinath's profile recently because we reconnected a couple months ago. So I recently did read through this. This is quite good. I mean, if someone's reading through this, they're going to get a pretty good snapshot of what Srinath does. Your thoughts, Damien?
Again, I like it. It's quite detailed. It's longer than some about sections, but it certainly does have a lot of detail in it.
Okay, and then we'll just jump down here to the.
Charles, can we scroll up slightly to the post?
Yes, just stand by.
So, with regard to posts, something you might wish to look at, Srinath, is to look at which of your posts you want to highlight most and to pin those to the top.
Yeah, so you can go in and have a look at your statistics, Srinath, and look at the number of views and which are the high performing over the last several months, which posts were high performing. And what Damien is saying is you could feature those at the top of your profile.
Absolutely.
Or if there's something you're particularly proud of that you've accomplished, such as beginning a new role as a freelancer in fractional management roles and advisory services, could be something like that. Let me just have a look here to scroll over a little bit. I like the value added in Sabi, the way you introduce the repost there, insightful dialogue, authentic and experience based. So this is a good example of the value added. And the next post here, all humans creations can be put to good use or not. That's a good example of value added introduction to a repost of content.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's just very quickly scroll down and have a look at the posts here. We're going to jump out of the fractional and just jump into Multivista Global, Mac Machine Tools. So you could very clearly here, you can see at the helm of Multivista division, my leadership pivots on new business incubation growth strategy. If we were to enlarge that, so one thing you might want to consider, Srinath, is putting in some accomplishments. Did you grow sales during that time? Did you impact P&L during that time? Did you have P&L responsibilities? And those are the sorts of things that you want to consider highlighting in here. So you don't have to put everything that is in your resume, but put a couple of statistics from your resume into your LinkedIn profile. So the name of the game is you want to get people that you want to network with and do business with. whether that's getting another role or whether that's B2B opportunities. What you want to be doing is enticing people to engage with you. That's LinkedIn is like a net to draw you in. What would you agree with that, Damien, or what would you add to that?
Yes, absolutely. One thing, one minor point: if you've left an organisation, maybe check that when you're writing about your role there, it's in the past tense.
Oh, good point.
And sometimes, not here, but sometimes somebody will have an advert for their company they used to work for in their description because the company wrote it for them. And that's something to be aware of as well.
Okay, great feedback. Great feedback. But overall, this is going in the right direction, Srinath. And again, with 4,500 plus followers, you could be thinking about how you could be participating in thought leadership around manufacturing automation, robotics, and in your particular space, in that automation space, and coming up with a newsletter. You don't have to be publishing the newsletter every day or every week. You could start gently, small, with a newsletter once a month type of thing. Okay, so that's some feedback for Srinath, and unfortunately, Jaya, we're not going to get a chance to get to you at this particular point. Abdullah says, thank you very much for the feedback. You're most welcome, Abdullah. Thanks for joining us today. I hope it was valuable for you. And Jaya, what we'll do is we will, thank you for the encouraging feedback. And Jaya, I know you said feedback. What we'll do is I'll have a quick look at your presentation, your LinkedIn profile, and I'll send you a DM with a little bit of feedback on what you could do to improve it. And on that particular note, I think that we're wrapping it up here. We've gone a little bit over, and I appreciate everybody joining us today. Thank you so much. And it's been a delight to talk about social media hacks to land your dream job. One of the things that, just before everybody goes, one of the things that is really topical these days, and Jaya mentions it a couple of comments ago, is AI. So we are going to make a return to AI next week if everything falls into place in the universe. And we are going to talk about spirituality. And particularly, we're going to talk about AI and God. And stay tuned for the headlines around this. I don't think, let me see, I'll actually, give me talk amongst yourselves, Damien, and while I quickly look on WhatsApp what the name of this talk is going to be.
Sounds like fascinating talk, Charles.
I think it will be. I think it absolutely will be. Okay, what's happening in Hong Kong on Friday? Myself and another colleague in Hong Kong are presenting at a lunch talk. We've got about 55 to 60 people attending that lunch at the Hong Kong Club. If you are in Hong Kong and you're interested in attending that, spontaneously, spur of the moment, send me a DM and I might be able to squeeze you into that. But basically, the topic is AI, God, and the future of humankind. And we're going to be talking about, what is obviously, my faith, I'm a Christian. We're going to be talking about it in the Christian context on Friday at this particular presentation. But the individual that is leading with me is going to be hopefully joining us next week, Damien. If for whatever reason he's on a plane, then I think you and I will just recreate the event this time next week and possibly pull Joanne in as well. So stay tuned, everybody, for this event coming up a week from now. We're going to talk about AI, God, and the future of humankind. Who will be master? Who will be slave? And what does the future look like? Our talk tomorrow is only 25 minutes, but I will really give it a good chinwag a week from now. There's all sorts of things that we wanted to include in tomorrow's 25-minute talk that we couldn't because of time constraints, but next week with an hour, we'll be able to include all that. It'll also be highly interactive, and we will have results from a survey from tomorrow's talk as well. So thank you so much for joining us today, everybody. And Damien, thanks for your wise words and your advice and the feedback. And thanks also to Abdullah and Srinath for the courage of stepping out and getting feedback on your LinkedIn profiles. This is Horizon X, over and out.
Thank you so much.